Backstage at the World Famous Whiskey, it is Joey Vera. How are you today?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Coming in from San Jose, I see.
Yes, we played San Jose last night.
Awesome.
Yep.
How's the tour been going?
It's been going really well, really well. This is the tail end of it. We have a couple more shows left. Tonight we're playing the Whiskey at Hollywood, as you just heard. And we got another show tomorrow in San Diego.
Okay.
But all the dates have been great. Tons of fans coming out. Bunch of new people, which is kind of interesting.
Friends telling friends
Yeah.
and new generations.
Yep.
And
It's been really interesting. I've seen it more on this last tour than I have in a long time, actually. So it's pretty cool.
now you do multiple hats here, from Motor Sister to Armored Saint to Face Warning. Tell us about your relationship with this band. How long does it go back, and when did it start, or why did it start?
Well, I've known Jim Matthias since like '83, '84. We met while I was on tour with Armored Saint, one of my first tours ever, and we became pretty much instant friends since then. And soon thereafter, we were label mates on Metal Blade. Fates Warning was, and Armored Saint always had a history with Metal Blade, so that we just became really good friends. And then I, would always support the band when they'd come to LA, and we just stayed in touch throughout all those years. The original bass player Joe decided he didn't want to tour anymore, and he wanted to stay home with his family and have kids and stuff. So Jim called me to see if I was interested in being involved in the band, and I was out of Armored Saint at that point, so it was like perfect timing for me to say, well, I mean, I've always been a fan of the band, so it was perfect for me. That was '96, so I've been in the band 20 years, which is pretty crazy to think about. But I've just become super great friends with all the guys in the band. Ray Alder lives in LA. He's lived here a long time, and so we're just total drinking buddies. We hang out a lot when we're in town, and we've had different drummers, and Bobby's the current guy. He's amazing too, and it's a really cool thing with this band. We just get along like amazingly great. It's a super low stress situation, and we just have a good time out there. So it's really, really cool.
Well, it seems like more and more bands are living in various cities, more than ever.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the internet where you share files or what. Obviously, you need to get together at some point to tour, but it seems like more and more bands are just scattered. You don't have to be in the same town, the same thing. And
Yeah.
Also, more players are playing in multiple situations too than ever.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and sometimes it's a little bit of a necessity these days to do that. Technology allows you to be in, different remote places and be able to communicate and even perform in different states and different countries, through the internet and so forth. And then it's hard to make a living these days being in one group. So, any chance you have to play with other people, it's not only is it better for you, doesn't benefit you financially. It does benefit you financially to be involved in different things, but it also makes you a better player, better person, more experiences with different people. So
something from every situation you bring back to your other.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the things that I really have been cherishing for the last 30 years is all these different musicians that I have some capacity to jam with or play with, be in bands with, or do projects with, or recording or whatever. It's just like, it's amazing, I'm super lucky to be able to do that.
Yeah, of course, the Scotty Ian situation with Mother Sister.
Oh yeah.
Our Motor Sister. Now, did you look out the window? Do you see they have the Tower Records building painted?
I did see that, and I didn't know. I saw something about that online. I didn't know what they were doing.
Well, they had a premiere party, the documentary "All Things Must Pass" that Colin Hanks made about Tower Records.
Right. Okay.
Russ Solomon.
It was funny. My wife and I were having coffee across the street, and I had kind of forgot about that. So we're sitting. I'm looking out the window, And it just it didn't even occur to me that it was out of context anymore, because to me, it looked like it had always been there, like
Right.
it always should be there. And the Tower Records sign, and I just said, hey, the Tower Records sign it's back up
It's
again,
new.
you know? And it looks like brand new, and it just, to me, it just looked like it had always been there.
Yeah. I mean, what memories do you have? Obviously, the first Armored Saint on Chrysalis, you probably, went there and saw your music. I mean, what history
Well, I
do you
didn't
have
live
with
around
that?
here. We didn't live in this area, so the
Okay.
only time we came here would be like if we were going out to shows, other clubs, or playing or something. But I certainly went to Tower Records a few times when it was
Yeah.
here. This
Where in
one,
town did you grow? Where were you living?
Armored Saint was from the San Gabriel Valley,
Okay.
so we were from the other valley,
Okay.
and so in our early days we had like Music Plus and Licorice Pizza,
The
um,
warehouse.
yeah, the warehouse too.
Yeah.
But Tower was an amazing place because it had anything you wanted. I mean, it was just a plethora of like,
You spent an hour or two in
it was amazing. You can, any kind of music, any kind of import.
format, T-shirts, magazines,
Yeah,
books.
it was a phenomenal place.
Yeah.
So
No,
it was
it's,
sad to see it go.
Yeah, you got to see that documentary. I mean, it's so exciting to see what they had built, but then when you watch it go away, it's the saddest thing in the
Yeah.
world. It's like
Yeah,
the worst.
it happens to a lot of it happens to a lot of businesses these
Yeah.
days.
Well, obviously that experience coming up of going to stores, whether it be the little mom and pop stores, of course, your buddy Brian Slagle with Oz Records out in Woodland Hills, or all the little
Yeah.
cool metal shops,
Yeah.
coming up. I mean, what else do you miss most about, the music industry or that whole community that we had in the 80s and 90s?
Well, that probably would be part of it. Is we used to go to Poobah's in Pasadena, and so that was our spot to go. And it was a tiny little place on a corner. It was basically a house that was converted into a record store. But that was the place where we went to get all the new bands that we were discovering during the new wave of British heavy metal. So it was all about. They carried Kerrang magazine, and we if we had to take the bus up there, we'd do it, and we'd go check out Kerrang magazine. We'd check out all the new releases that were coming out, and that was at that point you're buying records just based on looking what the record cover looked like. So if it was cool artwork and it looked like something that was heavy and from Europe or something, you would just check it out and buy it.
Yeah, most releases back then were $5-6 or
Yeah.
something, and you didn't hesitate.
Yeah. Yeah, and nowadays it's the way we get music and the way we get turned on to music is a complete different animal,
Yeah.
and I miss the way of just weeding through by hand and just really taking chances on something
Oh,
just
sure.
based on
And then maybe
the
turn
LP.
your friends onto something
Yeah.
that they'd never heard of.
Yep.
People trading tapes and
Yep.
and all that. And obviously, you go back to those early days when Metallica was coming up, opening for you guys, and so many of the bands that we know today were little garage bands.
Yeah, I mean it was a great time. At the time you don't really know what's really happening,
You
but
never know what the good old days are.
you don't know.
Later.
But in hindsight, you look back and say, "Shit, I was actually there when that happened. That was kind of pretty wild, and I survived it."
Metallica playing to 20 people, third on the bill at the whiskey.
Yeah. Yep.
Amazing stuff.
Yep.
So now with the latest Fates Warning album,
Mhm.
talk about your involvement with that and what you're most proud of seeing the guys achieve with this, creatively.
Well, they've written. Jim and Ray have written a really great record. I've heard that we've been playing it on the bus a little bit, and it's going to be really, really cool. Can't wait to start recording it. The plan is to start recording sometime in December and January. Hopefully, have this out by early summer. I can't talk too much about it. It's a hush hush situation, but it's going to be really, really cool. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to starting it.
Well, that's what's great is people independently being able to kind of change or grow or develop at their own pace. I remember probably when you guys signed Chrysalis back in the day, there was probably a little bit of pressure. We got to have a hit. We got to, whether you felt it or not. I mean,
No, it was there.
Label with Billy Idol and
Yeah.
Matt Benatar and whatever. And these people going double platinum on MTV, and you know, what was it like being thrown in that fishbowl where you were basically, in essence, a garage band? I mean,
Yeah.
making the music in your rehearsal,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, like, oh shit, we're expected to
Yeah.
move some boxes.
It was
here.
pretty unnerving for us. We were very young and naive, had no idea about the business and how much of an impact they could have on you. And certainly when we got involved right away with Chrysalis, we kind of learned fairly quickly that they might have been the wrong label for us. On one hand, they were right label because they were a boutique label still at that point, but on the other hand, they were a super radio heavy band label, and they wanted a radio heavy band. They wanted a Def Leppard sort of a thing happening, and we just weren't that. We weren't those guys, and it made us really rebellious in the beginning, and probably, I think that in the long run we ended up sticking to our guns, but it certainly created some confusion along the way within the group. But in the end, I think that we ultimately kind of stuck to our guns and ended up doing our own thing in the end. Took some time to get there, but I sort of feel like our most recent record, Win Hands Down, is probably a testament to that. Like we never really fit anywhere. We just sort of always did our own thing, and we're sort of this band that's on our own island. And that wasn't an easy thing to swallow, because during the 80s you wanted to belong to something, because some things were becoming more successful than others. So you want to be successful, but how much are you willing to give up in order to do that? So it was confusing for us, but like I said, I think in hindsight, I think that we ended up doing our own thing for the most part.
Yeah.
So it was certainly something that it took a long time getting used to.
I know Ron Fair was one of your A&R guys, right?
He actually signed us,
Yeah,
Ron Fair.
Obviously went on to Christina Aguilera,
Yeah.
Black Eyed Peas.
Super successful,
real music guy.
real music guy, and he's still the same guy he was back then. And he had a huge influence on us. Little did we know at the time, but looking back, he totally influenced us and helped us. He was the first guy who kind of held our hand through the recording process. Very first, after our demo with Bill Matoyer in the big leagues, he helped us, taught us what was important about recording and what wasn't important about it. So he was a super musical guy. He would break down our parts on piano. It was really interesting to see someone do that, and at first you sort of giggle and you think it's funny, but like I said, in hindsight, it's like, wow, he's a super well-rounded guy, and he wasn't heavy-handed either.
The arrangement and the architecture of
Yeah.
the song, as opposed to just a riff and
And he wasn't like the sort of typical thing you hear of about an A&R person where they try to change you and make you into something you're not.
Yeah.
He certainly was trying to guide us in a particular direction, but it was never heavy-handed. It was always
bring out what you did.
It was always with respect to what we already had,
Right.
which I appreciate now. And I mean, at the time, like I said, during our confusion, we were probably a little bit like stubborn and rebellious, but we're young. What can you do? You don't know. So
Yeah. Well, you and your singer John Bush have had a history with Scott Ian and Anthrax. It's a very incestuous kind of family tree there. What was your greatest memory about that experience playing with the Anthrax guys? And again, I know you're still kind of connected, obviously, with Scott.
I mean, it's great. I mean, was friends with those guys beforehand also, but when they asked me to fill in for Frank while he left to do the helmet thing, it was amazing. I mean, I was supporting the band anyway during the Bush era, and then to be on stage in Tokyo for the first time, looking over, and I'm rocking out to Anthrax songs, and my best friend and singer he's singing. We're on stage together again, and it was very surreal, but super just amazing. I got to go to tons of countries I'd never been to before, so I had a blast. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's exciting, especially these days, I think with YouTube, there's just more and more countries, more and more promoters. Obviously, South America's on fire. I mean, there's just more territories for a band that's willing to travel and put the work in, and
Yeah.
has some strong material. Seems like you can tour for 2 years these days. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I know Anthrax is probably charting at least the next year and a half,
Mm-hmm.
you know, with this new album.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of interesting, these territories. What are your experiences in South America?
South America, it's crazy there. I mean, the people are so passionate. They're just so passionate about it. I think that a lot of bands don't go there. It's expensive to go there, and it's logistically hard to tour there. So they get very few concerts. And so when something comes through there that they love, they just go bonkers. It's just crazy. It's like Beatlemania. It's crazy.
Somebody just said, "Yeah, we're going to South America, opening for Iron Maiden on this tour." And I'm like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, that's heavy.
Opening for Maiden down there.
That's
gotta be
heavy.
intense.
It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what advice do you give to the young players? Because obviously the industry's completely changed, just like our beloved Tower Records here. But creatively, I know you're very involved in production and songwriting. What advice do you give to the young players as far as pointing them in the right direction of, you know, what they need to learn and focus on?
Well, I don't know. I think I always tell people to just follow their own gut feelings and their own bliss, you know. And I think that ultimately you have to be enjoying what you're doing.
You can't expect instant gratification.
No, you need the right reason. Fame and success and earning income and all those things are things that shouldn't be your number one priority. The number one priority should be, you really have to love to do this, because it's not an easy business to be involved in. It's full of disappointments, and it's full of hurdles and things like this. But the joy should be coming out of working hard and enjoying what you do, and just staying true to that. You know, you have to love the music that you play, and you have to be open to, you know,
Taking risks. I mean,
taking
you gotta find
risks.
your own style.
And sharing it
Everybody
with
comes
other
up playing
people.
Other people's songs, but
Yeah.
you really got to go out on that limb and
Yeah.
make your unique, like obviously what makes one
Yeah,
does.
a lot of people are afraid to take risks, and they think that they should go, you know, this is the path that these guys made, so I'm going to follow that path, and I'm going to get the same thing. But it's a fairly empty way to travel. So I think the way you got to go is do what you do, and don't worry about what anyone else thinks.
Yeah. Well, Joey, we appreciate those words. Thanks for the memories and the stories, man.
Thank you.